Death, taxes, and people sleeping on the Sixers. These unfortunately seem to be the three constants in our life. In this video, I want to talk about the latest snubbing of some of the Sixers stars, both through the AllStar Voting, the first round of AllStar Voting that has been released from the Sixers side of things, as well as the NBA Player of the Month conversation, which Joel Embiid somehow did not earn those honors. So let's dive right into things, and I want to kick things off breaking down the All-Star voting here. So this is the first round of fan voting that come out. There's still plenty of time for ultimately things to be decided in this matchup, and I'm also going to dive into the qualifications after the fact, but I'm going to kick things off by just pulling up these numbers here. So Giannis Antetokounmpo leading the entire NBA in votes, number one in front court votes in the East, Joel Embiid right behind him, both justifiably so, both guys that absolutely deserve to be All-Stars, and no surprise there. And then when you look down the list, Jason Tatum, number 3, Jimmy Butler, number 4, Jaylen Brown, number 5, Bam Adebayo, number 6, Mikal Bridges, number 7, number 8, Kristaps Porzingis, Kyle Kuzma, number 9, Paolo Banchero, number 10. Then we get over to the guard category, which is where personally I feel a little more heat and frustration for our guy, Tyrese Maxey. So when you look at the guards, Tyrese Halliburton leading the pack and deservingly so. 1.3 million votes in that category there. The only guard to eclipse a million out of the East there. Damian Lillard, number 2. Trae Young, number 3. Donovan Mitchell, number 4. Tyrese Maxey down at number 5. Jalen Brunson at 6. LaMelo Ball at 7. Derek White at 8. DeMar DeRozan at 9. And Drew Holiday at 10. Now, a lot of talent, a lot of impressive names on this list that I would argue right now in its present day, the NBA is the deepest and has the most talent across the board than ever before. That you can make a strong argument for each one of these guys. And I'm not going to use this to put down a lot of these guys, but I will say that Tyrese Maxey is playing at an all-star level and has from start to finish this season. That what more does he have to do? This kid has dropped 50 points in a game. He's seen his assists go up a significant margin, and he's just producing at the level that this team asks, while these Sixers are a competitive and playoff threat. To dive into his numbers specifically on what Maxey is bringing on the table this year, through the first 32 games of the season, Maxey averaging 25.9 points per game, 6.4 assists, 3.7 rebounds per game. On his shooting splits, 45.8% from the field, 38.8% from 3, shooting 87.2% at the free throw line. It's really impressive to see those numbers still pretty much hanging that side, specifically the efficiency, based on how much more volume has been thrown in his plate. The Tyrese Maxey looking like the ideal co-star to Joel Embiid, the randomness, the more spunk that he has in his game compared to years past when the predictability of James Harden and Joel Embiid has been really refreshing to watch, and it has brought out the best of his game. Him being allowed to play free, him being able to do whatever he wants on the floor, it is translated to success both from a team and an individual standpoint for Tyrese Maxey, and those numbers just straight up are good enough. Now, I said I'm not going to use this to tear down players, but I do just want to look at the guys in front of him. Damian Lillard at number 2, Trae Young at number 3, and Donovan Mitchell at number 4. I think Tyrese Maxey has a better case than all three of those guys. That I think Dame Lillard a little bit of a reputation here that he has not played his best basketball, although he is playing much better of late. Donovan Mitchell has quietly been very good in Cleveland, but I don't quite think to the level of Maxey when we talk about impacting, winning, and playing on a contending team. The Cavs, they have an up and down year, and I'm honestly like what I've seen from them of late, so who knows how things will turn around. But I do think that Tyrese Maxey is that dude and should be recognized as that dude. Now, to shift gears to the other side of things, or actually, I forgot to mention the exact qualifications for voting. So how does NBA All-Star Voting work? NBA All-Star Game starters are selected by fans, NBA players, and the media. Fan votes make up 50% of the vote. All current players and a select group of media representatives will account for 25% each. Players and media can only submit one ballot. And then how are the reserves selected? Reserves are chosen by a vote among head coaches, though head coaches aren't allowed to vote for their own players. There are 7 reserves per conference. So that is something worth noting there, and obviously there's more to this story and more to be developed along the story as more games are played and we get closer to the actual deadline of things for All-Star voting. I do genuinely believe Tyrese Maxey is an all-star basketball player. I think he is one of the top players in the entire league and should be recognized as such. So hopefully he finds his way in. I will continue to pound the table and fight for his route into this game because he does deserve it. Now, to shift gears to the other topic of conversation, the most recent snubbing of a Sixer star, that comes down to the NBA Player of the Month. And the NBA announced that Giannis Antetokounmpo is named their Eastern Conference Player of the Month for December after averaging 32.5 points, 11.5 rebounds, and 6.8 assists per game while leading the Bucks to an 11-2 record during the stretch. Now, I'm not going to argue that Giannis is not a deserving player, that he is one of the best in the entire league, a guy within the MVP conversation, along with the guy who won the Western Conference, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Joel Embiid, of course, while Nikola Jokic kind of climbs his way back in after that game winner against Golden State and everything else that he is doing on the floor of late. It's going to be a tight race this year. But for this month specifically, this was Joel Embiid's month. That we were talking about a historic month of basketball. Some of the most impressive performance that we've ever seen, breaking numbers that Wilt has not done since the 1950s. And to see that on a night-to-night basis is absolutely absurd. To dive into exactly what Embiid averaged on the month, 40.2 points, 12.6 rebounds, and 4.9 assists game in the month of December. Now, I'm no mathematician. I'm no statistician, any word that you want to throw out there. But I do believe each of those numbers are better than Giannis Antetokounmpo, except for the assists there, but I do think it's close. And to exactly compare them once again, that we have Giannis averaging 32.5 points per game, 11.5 rebounds per game, and 6.8 assists. And when we talk about Embiid stats, 40.2 points per game, 12.6 rebounds, and 4.9 assists per game. By the way, the Sixers were 8-1 in the 9 games that he did play this month. And that is the biggest sticking point and why I believe that it went to Giannis is because of the games played. I get it. The Giannis played 5 more games than Joel Embiid did this month. 4 more games, I'm sorry. It was the 4-game road trip that he did miss due to that sprained ankle he sustained against the Raptors. Embiid playing 9 games this month versus Giannis playing 13. I disagree with the notion that availability is the best ability. I hear this phrase thrown around all the time, and frankly, I just think it's not true. That I would much rather a player like Joel Embiid, who is dominant every time he steps on the floor, than a guy that I know is going to be there every night and sometimes has it and sometimes doesn't. Now, this is not the case for Giannis. I'm not saying that is the version of a player he is, because it's not. But I'm just saying the concept that availability is this something that you need to weigh significantly higher, I just disagree with. That I understand the logic between putting on these qualifications for games played, for MVP, for AllStar voting, all these things. But the bottom line is when a guy is as dominant as Joel Embiid, it should be rewarded. And that's especially the case considering him being mentioned in Player of the Week conversations on an every week basis, winning it several times already this year, but he has yet to win a Player of the Month, and December felt like the one where he absolutely deserved it. Like, it's just unreal some of the things that he does on a night-to-night basis, and pretty crazy that he's not being rewarded for it. Just to dive into specifically kind of the improvements that were made in December, and particularly the efficiency is what I want to highlight here for how impressive this month was from Joel. So you can see the difference from a month-to-month basis in these numbers. The biggest thing, once again, that I want to point out is the efficiency splits. That in the month of December, Joel Embiid shooting 60.6% from the field, shooting 42.3% from beyond the three-point arc, and shooting 92.1% at the free throw line. A 50-40-90 game, a 60-40-90 month, really. And to do that while averaging 40.2 points per game is absolutely absurd. He had a plus-minus of plus 22.8 average for the month. An offensive rating is 130, which is nearly perfect in that one. The true shooting of 70.3% on a 41.6 usage percentage is absolutely insane. These are numbers that we just straight up do not see. So to see this kind of performance and this historic numbers being put forth, it is frustrating that Joel Embiid is not getting his flowers. But there's also a part of me that loves it. That I want the Sixers to stay an underdog. Have people keep sleeping on them. Have people not believing. Have people keep throwing the second round jokes and everything. Because you know what? This team is coming. That the more that I watch this Sixers team, the more I do believe in them. That there is a chip on their shoulder mentality that I quite like. There's all these guys are hungry. This is a team full of dogs. Pat Bev, from top to bottom of the guys competing, that there is impacts made. It feels like a much stronger locker room, a much higher vibes team than really has been the case throughout the Joel Embiid era. And that all starts with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey's continued production. Obviously, if they do not have the talent level or the ability, then none of these vibes or conversations really matter. But when you have both, and that looks to be the case right now, that's a really exciting thing for this Sixers team. That Joel Embiid is running with the charge. That he is grown into the leader, the player, the superstar that this organization has needed. And I also think that there's a nice balance to Joel Embiid being the guy with Tyrese Maxey being the number 2. That there's not this clash of titans for who wants the last shot or who's in charge here or James Harden, I want to play this way, I'm the system, all those comments. It's Joel Embiid's show and Tyrese Maxey is secondary. But also, what makes it work is Tyrese Maxey is no coward. He's not a guy running from the moment or scared. He's willing to fall in line and play behind Joel when necessary and capable of stepping up when the team needs and it is his role. So both of those guys have played at such a high level, and it should be recognized more nationally. I do think for Tyrese specifically in these All-Star voting, it's pretty likely it might come down to a coach's vote, that I think that it should be more well recognized. And from a fan perspective, he's one of the more well-liked players and up there with the most likable players in the entire league. But I don't think from a talent perspective, it is translated to the national stage just how good he is. That I think Maxey's recognized as a good player, but it needs to be recognized that he is an all-star caliber player, because he is and has played like one all season. So when that does begin to happen, maybe he finds a way in. Ultimately, I would like to see him punch his ticket, get that first All-Star game, and just intermingle with the elite of the NBA in the way that he belongs. And for Joel, I'm sure this is nothing that he's worried about. I did like his quote a couple weeks ago where he talked about the accolades, was asked about this by Tim Bontemps, where he essentially said, I want it all. I want championships. I want MVP. I want Defensive Player of the Year. I want it all. I want to be remembered as the best. That's the mentality that I love to see. Obviously, a December of 2024 Player of the Month, or 2023 at that point, Player of the Month award is not going to make or break how we remember Joel Embiid, but it is frustrating that I think this was one that he deserved and one that he did not get recognized for. But as I mentioned, I do like that the Sixers continue to be slept on. I do think that is the recipe to success for this organization moving forward and the overall outlook for the playoffs. But we will see a lot of time until then, a ton of trade deadline stuff coming up until that moment. Appreciate you guys for listening in, taking a view on the channel here. Make sure to smash that subscribe button, drop a like, and let me know your thoughts in the comment. Which of those guards above Tyrese Maxey is least deserving? Who should he definitely get in over? Let me know in the comments, and I will talk with you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Peace.